Christian from Feel Good Gaming, and today we're doing a deck tech on none other but Brion Stoutarm. He's a 4-mana giant warrior. It's Boros and 2 colorless for a 4/4 lifelinker. You could pay red and tap him and sack another creature. Brion Stoutarm deals damage to sacrifice creature's powers to target player. And he has lifelink, so whatever you throw at him, Brion is in fact going to gain you that life. We're going to start off here with a little bit of ramp. We don't have a crazy amount, just decent. You have your Arcane Signet. Surveyor's Scope, that's a cool one. You could exile Surveyor's Scope, search your library for up to X basic lands, where X is a number of players who control at least 2 or more lands, and you playing in Boros, there's a good chance you're playing against some green decks that have more than 2 lands than you. So, that's a good one right there. I've definitely had times where you get 2 or 3. A Treasure Map, Command Sphere, Talisman of Conviction, Mind Stone, Burnished Heart. This is a ramp on a creature here. It's a 4/3 first striker. Add an amount of tap and add amount of red equal to the greatest power among creatures you control to enter the battlefield this turn. And you'll see, being a fling deck, there's going to be some big ones. You're going to get a lot. Speaking of a lot, there's Mana Geyser here, which I hope you all know about this. If you don't, start playing it. Add red to your mana pool for each tap land your opponents control. So that is that there. Unfortunately, we don't have all too much card draw with Thrill of Possibility as an additional cast. As an additional cost to cast this card, discard a card, draw 2. And Endless Atlas. I don't see this played all too much, and I'm a big fan of it. You pay 2, draw a card. Activate this only if you have 3 or more lands with the same name, and you usually do. So, here we're going to go over some threat and effects. I don't have a whole lot of them, but I have a decent amount. The first one here is 7 mana for a Molten Primordial. It's a 6/4 with haste. When it ETBs, for each opponent, you gain control up to 1 target creature that players controls until end of turn. You untap those creatures and they get haste. So keep in mind, when you're grabbing these creatures from people, you could obviously fling them with Brion instead of giving them back. Act of Treason is gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature and give it haste. Hijack. Target artifact or creature until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste. Besmirch. You untap it, gain haste, and you until end of turn, you gain control of target creature, gains haste, you untap it, and then you goad it when you give it back. Or, with Sundial of the Infinite, 2-mana artifact, you can pay 1 and end the turn with it on the stack. So with one of these, you take a creature, or say with the Molten Primordial, you take a creature from each player. At the end step, the trigger goes off, and you end the turn with the Sundial to keep those creatures. One of my favorite things to get in the deck. Now, the biggest thing here, what else does Brion do? These things here, a fling, for those who don't know, you just sack a creature, fling deals damage equal to the power. Bloodshot Cyclops, sack a creature, deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the sacrifice creature's power. That's the same thing there. And then a Stalking Vengeance is basically one of the biggest ones too, because whenever another creature you control dies, it deals damage equal to its power to target player. So you throw something, and then with this guy on the field, you're basically dealing double damage, not to mention he's a 5/5 haste himself. Now, on to the biggest part of the deck, which is a lot of it. Obviously, now you know why I didn't have much room for card draw. This is where we go into fling it. We're going to flinging and swinging. First one that you want to fling, Yosei the Morning Star, has, as it dies, it's a 5/5 for 6. As it dies, target player skips his or her next untap step. Tap up to 5 permanents that player controls. Malingus for 5 mana. Its power and toughness each equal to the highest life total among your opponents, and damage can't be prevented that's dealt by Malingus. Sunscorch Regent for 5 mana. It's a 4/3 flyer. As an opponent casts a spell, you put a plus counter on him and you gain a life. That's going to add up quick. This guy's cool, Molten Steel Dragon, 6 mana 4/4. You could pay Phyrexian to give him +1/+0 until end of turn. So you can get him all the way up there. Keep in mind, Brion has lifelink, so you could pump him up 25 times, make up a 29/29, swing him at one guy, and then fling him at the other and gain that life back that you just paid into him. Rekindling Phoenix I like in here. Probably a low-key card that most people don't put in their builds. But he's a 4/3 flyer. When it dies, you get a 0/1 elemental creature token with, at the beginning of your upkeep, sack this creature and return Rekindling Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste until end of turn. So you play it, fling it, hit somebody for 4, you get a 0/1, and then on your upkeep, you get this guy back, and now he's a 4/3 haste. Swing a 4/3 haste in the air, rinse and repeat. Oh, the boy, shout out Uncle. It's an inside joke with me and my buddy. 7 mana for a 6/6 giant warrior. Whenever another creature comes into play, you may put X +1/+1 counters on Hamlet Bat Goliath, where X is that creature's power. So basically another thing, you're just getting tons of counters on this guy as well. This guy's just I don't know how great he is, to be honest with you, but I guess we'll see. He's a 6 mana 4/2 with Undying, so when he or another creature enters the battlefield from your graveyard, that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. So you fling him, it's going to do 4 to somebody, he's going to come back, ETB, and deal another 4. Thunder Bless, I like this guy a lot. He's 5 mana for a 7/2 with haste, and he has Persist, and his Trample, as long as he has a plus counter on it, try to swing him somewhere, and if they end up being able to kill this guy, you fling him, deal 7 to somebody, and then it's going to come back with the Persist, and now be a 7/2, or be a 6/1 Trample Haste. Pretty cool. Evra, now you start messing with the life totals here. Is 6 mana 4/4 with lifelink. You could pay 4 to exchange your life total with Evra. And you know what that means. Swing with the thing, fling it. Oh man, just opportunities are endless with that one. As well as Sarah Avatar, 7 mana for a star. Its power toughness are equal to your life total. When it gets put in the graveyard, you shuffle it. No shenanigans. This is just another guy here. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, you get a plus counter on him, and that gets big quick. This is a good one here. Scuttling Doom Engine, 6 mana 6/6. Can't be blocked by creatures power 2 or less, so definitely gets through on a lot. When it dies, it deals 6 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. Obviously, you fling it with Brion, it's going to deal 6 damage because of Brion. You gain 6, and it's going to trigger this as well, so you're really dealing 12. Which is very good. This I decided to put here instead of the land slot, but it is a land. As an additional cast, you sack a creature, and this card deals damage to its power to any target. So another fling effect. This guy's another life total guy. It's a 7 mana star. Power toughness are equal to your life total, and obviously you want to do that. You're going to double your life total when you fling and probably kill somebody. And it also has Encore for 9. You exile the card from your graveyard. For each opponent, you create a token copy that attacks that opponent this turn. If able, they gain haste, and you sack them at the end step. You could either sack multiple ones of these for some reason. Maybe if you can untap Brion in your build, that's great. Or with the Sundial of the Infinite, with that trigger on the stack, you end the turn and keep those tokens. Now we're going to move on to the protection in this deck, because there is a lot. Gift of Immortality, 3 mana enchantment. Whenever enchanted creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Return Gift of Immortality to the battlefield attached to the creature at the beginning of the next end step. So you're going to put this on a big guy that you fling, and this is going to bring it back, which is pretty awesome. Deflecting Palm, that's a good one. The next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage. If damage is prevented this way, Deflecting Palm deals that much damage to that source's controller. Oh, that's the best feeling ever when you get to hit somebody with that, man. Oh, man. This is a great one, too, because you just leave this mana open. You leave 5 mana open, right? Just Brion out there. Nobody expects anything. You get hit with something huge. I've been hit with a 40/40 before. Okay, I'm going to flash this guy out. You're going to put 40 counters on it. Now I have a 41/41 that I could fling at somebody with lifelink. Maybe the best card of the deck. It's amazing. Another one here. Brought Back. Choose up to 2 target permanent cards in your graveyard that were put there from this battlefield this turn. Return them tapped. You could do this with good sack lands. If you with a board wipe, great protection. Cauldron of Souls is amazing in here for either board wipes or a creature you brought back. Mother of Runes, target creature you control gains protection of the color of your choice until end of turn. And Hyena Umbra, just throw some totem armor on there. And it gets +1/+1, first strike, and totem armor. So that is the protection in the deck there. Now moving on to the removal slash board wipes. There's Lapse of Certainty, counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, put it on top of the owner's library instead of the player's graveyard. Sometimes you're just making somebody draw the same card. Like, yeah, they could do it again, but you're wasting that person's time and nobody's going to expect it. It's white, you know what I mean? Disenchant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. That's pretty simple. Let's do another counter. Counter either target blue spell or destroy target blue permanent. So it's great removal and or a counter if somebody wants to counter one of your things here. A Fling or Sundial Infinite. Swords to Plowshare, simple. Exile a creature, gain that controller gains life equal to its power. And then we'll move on to some board wipes here. Hour of Revelation is white, and 3, and it costs 3 less if there are 10 or more permanents on the battlefield, which there's really always going to be, and you're going to destroy all non-land permanents. Mizium Mortars, 2 mana, or you could pay the Overload for 6, which would make it do 4 damage to each creature you don't control. And the last board wipe here, 6 mana, to put all creatures on the bottom of their owner's libraries, or you could pay white for the miracle cost. If it's the first card you draw this turn, you can cast it by paying 1. Now we're just going to go over the basic, just good cards in the deck. Amira's Shepherd for 7. It's a 4/4 angel with landfall. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return target non-land permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. If that land is a plains, you may return that non-land permanent card to the battlefield instead. It's not only creature, but permanent card. It's so good. So good. Urabraska the Hidden, 5 mana 4/4, gives your creatures haste and makes your opponents enter the battlefield tapped. Felden of the Third Path is amazing for those guys that you flung. 3 mana 2/3 with an activated ability of 3 and tap it to put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of target creature in your graveyard, except it's an artifact in addition to the other types, and you would sack it at the end step. Another one here, Quicksilver Amulet, just for the instant speed, kind of surprise thing there. 4 mana, and it has activated ability of 4 mana. Choose a creature card in your hand and put that creature into play, which with Brion can be crazy and unexpected. Perforos is kind of the same thing here. 5 mana, 7/6 Indestructible God. Other creatures you control have haste, and you can pay 3 to sneak attack, which is put a red creature card or an artifact card from your hand onto the battlefield, and you sack it at the next end step. Stranglehold, your opponents can't search libraries. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. Mirror March, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, flip a coin until you lose a flip. For each flip you win, create a token copy that's a copy of that creature. Then those tokens gain haste, exile them at the next end step. Warstorm Surge may be one of the best cards in the deck, really. May should be in the win cons, because whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to the power to target creature or player. Adarkar Valkyrie, I don't know if I said that right. 6 mana 4/5, Flying Vigilance Angel. You could tap it, and when target creature other than Adarkar Valkyrie dies this turn, return that card to the battlefield under your control. So it basically gives you a freebie on a fling. Gisela, just because why not? 7 mana 5/5 angel with flying and first strike. If a source would deal damage to an opponent or permanent an opponent controls, that source deals double instead. If a source is dealt to you, it does half rounded up. And then Mimic Vet. When you put it out, with imprint, when a non-token creature dies, you may exile that card if you do. So you exile it under here if a creature dies. If you do, you return any other card exiled under here to that player's graveyard. You could pay 3 and tap it to create a token of the card exiled with it, but you do exile at the end step. And let's finish off the deck here with what I look at as the best win cons. Furnace of Wrath, just because double damage. Is 4-mana enchantment, deals double damage. Calamity Bearer, another 4-mana, 3/4 if a giant source you control will deal damage to a permanent or player. It deals double instead, and Brion is, of course, a giant. Heartless Hitotsugu, he's a 4/3/5 mana. You tap him to deal damage to each player equal to half that player's life total rounded down. Phyrexian Processors, artifact for 4 mana. As it enters the battlefield, you pay any amount of life, and you can pay 4 and tap it to put an XX minion on the battlefield, where X is the amount paid into it. This one's a bit risky, for sure, because you should basically not play this unless you can make it this turn and fling it. So really, it's kind of a late game thing. But if you make a 30/30 and you throw it at somebody, you're going to gain that 30 back, and they're not. Final Fortune, take another turn after this. You lose the game at the end of that turn, but with something like Sundial of the Infinite, with that trigger on the stack, you could end the turn, so you will not lose the game. And then, of course, Grafted Exoskeleton for last, because who wouldn't want some Infect on Brion throwing a 20/20, right? Come on. That'd be great. But anyway, that was my deck tech on Brion Stoutarm. I hope people enjoyed, and you're going to be seeing more of these. My goal is to get all of the colors of the color pie, which is going to be all monocolors, all 2-color, and all 3-color, 1 4-color, and 1 5-color. I'm going to start off with some of these decks that I'm going to be breaking. As far as this one, I really enjoy the deck. I love it. But, it's time to make some new ones, right? All right, guys. Appreciate you watching. Have a great rest of your day.